Welcome, everybody. This is Science Trainer here, and I just watched Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and wow, that was very emotional. This is my non spoiler reaction, thoughts on the movie, at least non spoilers if you watch the trailers. In the first teaser, you see scenes of T'Challa, aka Chadwick Boseman, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say that they address his death in the very first scene. It's very emotional as they go through a funeral sequence. I think Marvel did a great job addressing his absence and letting the audience feel that moment. Another thing you see in the trailers is that the Wakandans are facing what I thought was Atlantis. Later, you see Namor and blue skinned soldiers fighting, and scenes of Wakanda underwater or with water in the city. I'll start off by saying that Marvel did a very good job explaining who they are. They call themselves Tulakanese. We learn more about Namor, the character. He's the Kulkulkan that M'Baku refers to in one of the trailers. We also get a little bit of fear. There's more than one scene where you dive deep underwater and you start to wonder when and where they will strike. Not for my reaction. Not since Avengers Infinity War have I felt so many emotions. Eternals, on the rewatch, was also good, but this one gets you on the very first viewing. It's so intense that, like some other movies, I'm even wondering how much patience I have to watch it a second time. Moon Knight is another movie. If you haven't seen it, another at least TV series. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. That is also really great. Strongly recommend for the emotional feels. The other things about this is that Wakanda Forever reminds me a lot of Thor 1, particularly this first scene where the ice giants invade Asgard and attempt to steal the ice or the frost weapon. Thor is like, let's go to war, let's go kill them. But Odin is like, no, this was the act of a few, doomed to fail. And there's some consequences to Thor thinking, oh, let's just go to war. The last thing that this reminds me of is a game called The Last of Us 2, particularly in the sense that revenge is something that the characters are motivated by, and it's not a painless, free thing to do. Before I move on from talking about other media and other properties, and apologies here for recording for some of the screenshots that I'm going to share because they're blurry. Sorry for that. I'm still figuring it out. In Avengers Infinity War, you were upbeat most of the movie. Yeah, Thanos beats Hulk at the very beginning, but then Iron Man has a scene and he holds his own. Then you go to Wakanda, and then the heroes start getting together, and then you're like, Thanos is stoppable. They're gonna win. And then Thor shows up with his Stormbreaker, and you're like, yeah. But then you get this scene where Thanos gets a time stone, and you're like, oh no, he has five of them. This is not going to be a movie where like part one he gets three stones and part two he gets another three stones. Like he already has five in the first movie. And then you start to wonder, like, what kind of ending am I going to get? And then not even 7 minutes later, that bad ending is confirmed. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is an emotionally taxing movie. You see fighting that makes you wonder if it should be happening in the first place. It's also not a generally upbeat movie. Don't get me wrong, there are great moments early where you're like, yeah, you show them Dora Milaje, or other characters just doing their thing and it's fun. Riri, in particular, who is Ironheart, aka the Iron Man type of character, she's usually very positive, and her scenes are, a little bit more happy than the rest of the movie. But Wakanda and the Wakandans are going to take some punches, lots of them, which helps lead to the fighting in the movie that, while well choreographed and exciting to watch, is emotionally difficult to watch. It's easy to root for Iron Man Thor when you're like, yeah, take out Thanos. It's much harder to root for a country or the leader of a country when them being badass could cause a war that brings much more pain to their own people. So for my conclusion, I think this is a great movie that once again opens up the universe in Marvel to new things and new realms. And it's also not a typical superhero movie in the traditional sense. This almost feels a bit more like Game of Thrones, where the decision to even fight is a very real and tough decision that the characters need to make. Fighting has consequences. This is a great movie because it opens up Marvel to explore new characters and properties. It's also a great movie because it further opens up what's in the emotional range of Marvel. I'm very curious to see how this movie fits into the broader timeline, particularly with some more information about Phase 5 and Phase 6, Phase 5 being right around the corner. I expect to see more Wakanda and Black Panther characters in the Ironheart movie that's expected, or is it a TV show? Not sure. And they may also appear in the Captain America New World Order and in the Thunderbolts, but that remains to be seen. I only say this because the Wakandans showed up a little bit in the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus TV series. I may do a spoiler review, but we'll see if there's interest in the comments. Hope that was a great and not too spoilery review of what was already in this video. Black Panther Wakanda Forever was a great movie. I'm happy Marvel is exploring their emotional range. Thank you. Have a good one.